My dad is officiating my wedding and wants to do a memorial for my sister who passed away, but she made my childhood miserable by hijacking every event I ever had, and I don't want her mentioned at my wedding either. Posted by you/don'tlookatme_ please. I know the title sounds bad. I was hoping people might be able to assess this objectively and give suggestions, especially if they've been at weddings with memorials before. Unfortunately, for me, this is a trickier situation than I'd like because of who my sister was. I'm changing small details to make it harder to identify this situation if anyone I know happens across it. My younger sister passed away last year. She was an adult, but young, and it was sudden. I don't want to go into too much detail, but she made some bad choices that contributed to her short life. She was also not well mentally. She had an extremely tumultuous relationship with my mom and I, some ups but mostly very nasty downs, especially during years when we tried to save her from herself. On the other hand, my dad was often idealized by her and they had a better relationship. My fiancé did not have a good relationship with her either. Her final years and passing were traumatic for our whole family. It's especially impacted my dad. Since she passed, my dad has made a point of eulogizing her at every family event we've had to remember her and make sure she was present. It's always been difficult for both my mom and I because I have a lot of intense, difficult emotions surrounding her and her passing. I always cry for hours and I end up feeling downhearted and out of sorts for days after each one of these surprise memorial events. My dad will be the officiant at our wedding. It's very soon. I only recently learned that he plans to memorialize her during the ceremony and in his toast. I really don't want him to do this, but he's extremely resistant because he doesn't want to pretend like she was never here. I will admit that it is childish for me to feel bitter about someone who is no longer here, but growing up, I had a lot of events hijacked by her causing some incident and now it feels like it's happening again even when she's passed. If we had a better relationship, I might have been more okay with taking a moment to remember her, but my dad tends to lionize her and has a selective memory where he's forgotten everything bad. He was shocked when I said I wasn't comfortable with her being mentioned in a speech. Outside of my own baggage, my fiancé certainly doesn't want her mentioned. This is not just my side of the family event like the previous memorials. I also fear it will bring down what's supposed to be a happy time and make the guests sad or uncomfortable. I want to try to compromise with him by having my mom, he and I wear yellow jewelry in discreet places to remember her. Yellow was her favorite color. But I'm not sure if he'd be okay with this because it's too secret. Long story short, how can I let my dad feel like we're honoring my sister's memory without upsetting my mom, my fiancé and myself too much to enjoy the day? I'm at a loss and it's hard for me to approach this objectively. Edit, I need to go to bed so I won't be replying further, but I wanted to thank the people who offered condolences and advice, and also those who are rightfully saying girl what are you thinking when I said maybe I should just let him do it. I've gotten a lot of great ideas for other ways of remembering people, not just my sister, and ways to handle it if my dad tries anyway. I'm having a serious discussion with him tomorrow and if I get any hint that he's going to ignore my fiancé and I's wishes, then we'll find another officiant. Wish I'd been smart enough to fully settle this issue months ago instead of days from the wedding, but lesson learned about clear communication there. Thanks again. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, respectfully, can you speak to him how him mentioning her may be how he deals with his grief, but it's not how you are managing it? That he doesn't need to make his grief center stage. Can you also ask him maybe not to officiate? Then at least it's not in your ceremony. It's a delicate situation, but it is you and your fiancé's day, so you need to have it your way. Ops response, my mother and I have both tried to talk about how we process grief differently, especially given how difficult our relationships with my sister were. That's part of why I wasn't expecting him to do this at this event, because he did it for my birthday and I had to talk about how hard that was. Unfortunately, I guess I didn't make the impression that I thought I did. I don't want to ask him to step down as the officiant because I think that would really hurt him and cause more problems than just letting this happen. I just hope I could find some compromise that allows him to feel like he's not forgetting about his other daughter without making me too depressed to be a good wife to my fiancé or hostess to my guests. It really messes with me when I think about her passing too much. Commenter 2, if your father can't find a level of pure joy and respect for you on your wedding day, he should not be officiating. Also, it is not just a day for you and your family, it is your husband-to-be's day as well. Don't allow him to continue her funeral at your wedding. Ops response, absolutely, it would be horrible for my fiancé. I can't let that happen. Just sucks to be in this situation, but I'll figure something out. Thanks to you and the others giving a reality check. Op on finding a different officiant, unfortunately, it's a matter of days. That's why I haven't just said he shouldn't officiate. Finding someone else this soon would be a bear, and the emotional turmoil of saying he can't officiate would I think make things even worse than letting him do the memorial speeches for a variety of reasons. He's also shown that he will just kind of do things to memorialize her even when he's not in an official position, so I think that wouldn't really stop him if he were determined. That's why I'm hoping that I can find a compromise that's less obtrusive, so he doesn't feel guilty without literally calling everyone's attention to my sister's passing. Update, 4 days later. I received a number of requests for an update to this, so here we are. It's a good update, thankfully. I spoke with my dad the morning after making the post. I tried to emphasize that mentioning my sister's passing in detail at the wedding would be very difficult emotionally for my mother and I, would take away from my fiancé's, now husband's, day and would probably make the guests uncomfortable or saddened. He said he was resistant at first because he's been so afraid of my sister's memory fading away, but that ultimately he understood my concerns. He still wanted her present in some way that wouldn't take away from our day. I offered suggestions that people gave for ways to have her memory present. We decided to have a seat reserved for past loved ones at the ceremony, and an empty seat with a name tag for her at the wedding party's table during the reception dinner. My dad was the officiant as originally planned, and he gave a beautiful speech at the ceremony and a heartfelt toast that was focused on the joy of the day instead of the sadness of the past. As far as I'm aware, everyone at the wedding had a wonderful time and the only tears shed were happy ones. I know that there were multiple commenters who said my dad should be replaced as the officiant no matter what, but I'm glad I didn't do that. After the wedding was over, he gave me a big hug, crying because it meant so much to him that we trusted him to do the ceremony and how happy it made him to be such a big part of the wedding. It meant a lot to my husband and I, too. Moral of the story: sometimes it takes a few tries to get it right, but honest and heartfelt communication between everyone involved won the day here. Thanks again to everyone who left advice, comfort, well wishes and grandma hugs. I did not at all anticipate the interest in my post, but I'm grateful for everyone's comments even if I ran out of time to reply to everyone. In the end, it was a perfect wedding, and I couldn't be happier with how it turned out. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, so glad everything worked out. Sounds like you had the day you deserved. Commenter 2, I'm so glad. I was thinking of your post today. Grief can be so complicated and I'm glad you were able to come up with a respectful compromise between your feelings and your father's feelings. It was a very kind and loving thing to do. Commenter 3, moral of the story: sometimes it takes a few tries to get it right, but honest and heartfelt communication between everyone involved won the day here. This is a good outlook on it.